at Naveen Babu as well as his father, they stayed in state politics, even though they are so they are larger than life figures for the people of Odisha, but they never had ambitions to go beyond the state. Why is that the case?
I think Biju Babu was little more national than Naveen Babu. Naveen Babu was very clear in why he came to politics. In one of his interviews, he has told very clearly he was never interested in politics. He had no exposure to politics. Biju Babu had kept them away from politics, all the three children. So, in one of his interviews, he has told very clearly that I came when, after my father's death, they went to one of the orphanages, they met people, how much love and affection and trust they have for Biju Babu, and suddenly they felt orphaned. The people felt orphaned.
Yeah.
So, that is something which made him take this call, which he was otherwise not willing to do. That's how he entered politics.
Tell me a little bit about that incident. You know, when I interviewed Naveen Babu, he spoke at that time about that incident when his father rescued the Indonesian Prime Minister. Has he spoken about that incident with you? Does he talk about it? Do people in Odisha even talk about that incident?
Of course. I think it's a legendary story of a legend.
Could you tell it to our viewers and listeners? Because there are many youngsters, especially expat, Indians who live abroad in America and all, who watch this show, who may not be aware of the legend of Biju Patnaik.
Okay. So I'll tell 3-4 things about Biju Patnaik. We should call him, he was a phenomenon. Okay. He was not a leader. And he was way ahead of his times. He made some profit in his company when he was running so many companies. What he did, the first profit, what he made, he went all the way to Paris, mobilized some more funds, and set up Kalinga Prize for popularization of science as an alternative for Nobel Prize. He went all the way to UN and set up this when he was 32 or 33.
This is 1960s, I would think.
I think so, yeah.
Yeah. Huh.
So apparently Jawaharlal Nehru called and asked I think that time this clearances for depositing money and all goes to the Prime Minister at that time, maybe because of this, whatever this exchange policy and all. Why he wants to set up a international prize for popularization of science? Why can't you do something in India? So he was called and he asked, and Biju Babu said that I want to set up something in my state's honor. It will be called Kalinga Prize for Popularization of Science. I am convinced that I have to do it at the UN, so I'll do it for the state. Imagine that mid-30s person. What kind of thinking is it? Thought process. He makes some profit, takes it, goes there and sets up and even now many Nobel laureates have got the award, Kalinga Prize, UNESCO Kalinga Award. Very popular, prestigious award.
Yeah.
And what he did with that, he made an arrangement with them. He was very convinced that if India has to move forward, scientific temper has to come into the people. So what he did, and he was very convinced that Industrial Revolution, when it happened in the Europe, India was bypassed. So if we do popularization of science, India will come up. India will also get a chance to be a global leader. That was the thought process by which he went there. So anyone who wins this Kalinga UNESCO award, they have to come to India, spend about 2 months or so, going to the universities, giving speech on why science is important, how innovative you can be. See the thought process behind this whole thing. It was way ahead of his time.
Amazing, yeah.
The commitment he had for the country to popularize science, the commitment he had for the state, he went and put the name Kalinga in UNESCO, and the commitment he had for overall development, that he made some profit and he went all the way to Paris and set up a award. Even now it's one of the most popular awards. This is one example I should give about Biju Babu. The next example, of course, everyone knows about how he went all the way to Indonesia. It was the Prime Minister Jawaharlal Nehru's call that these Danish troops are again coming back, and there is a rebellion happening, and you have to help rescue the Indonesian freedom fighters.
Java.
So if you don't rescue the freedom fighters, there is a possibility the country again going back to Dutch rule. So he trusted Biju Babu to go and rescue. Here there is a very interesting part which many people will not know. His co-pilot was his wife, Gyan Ma was his co-pilot. And this happened, I think, in 1947. Naveen Babu was 1 year old. Imagine a father who takes the mother also with him
Yeah.
in a daredevil mission all the way to Java
Yeah.
in their Dakota flight to rescue the Indonesian freedom fighters.
Yeah.
That is the commitment of this man. He was a pilot. He was a pilot. So he went all the way. And we all should know that 7 days or 10 days before he went and landed, one more aircraft of his Kalinga Airlines was shot down by the Dutch forces. Almost everyone was killed except one. So that is the risk he was taking.
Yeah.
Because the Prime Minister said, there was a conference of Asian countries going to happen in Delhi. If the Indonesia will not be represented here by their freedom fighters, Indonesia as a country will not have a representation here. That was the brief given to Biju Babu by
Pandit
Nehru. So he went all the way via Singapore, went there. He used all his techniques to fly low to avoid the radar. He landed there, and then there were no fuel available. So all these tanks and damaged aircraft, which was left by Japanese forces, he mobilized fuel from that and used it and flew all the way with the freedom fighters to Singapore and then to India. That's how he has played a huge role in the Indonesian freedom struggle, and he was awarded Bhumiputra by
Indonesia. Sukarno, no? President Sukarno gave at that time.
President Sukarno gave, and they were family friends. And in
his
fact,
daughter also then, Sukarnoputri.
So she was named by Biju Babu.
Biju Babu. Yeah,
So-
tell us about that also. That's true.
So she was named Megawati. So
The
whatever
clouds,
I
there was that whole thing that
rains
it was
was
raining,
happening.
yeah.
So he named her as Megawati. So she was Megawati Sukarno Putri.
Yeah, correct. It's such an interesting story.
Absolutely.
So there's this cult of Biju Babu, and then there is a cult of Naveen Babu now.
In
Naveen
fact, you
Odisha.
should. I'll share one more very interesting stuff
Please do.
about
Yes.
Biju Babu, which many people would not know. This was during the Indo-Bangladesh War.
Yeah, Kashmir.
Indo-Bangladesh War.
He brought the troops there.
No. In Kashmir, he was one of the first pilots to land in Srinagar when
The rebels came in.
rebels came, and he rescued a lot of people. He airdropped a lot of force.
Yeah.
That was a turning point in the Kashmir issue at that point of time. This is about Indonesia. This is about
Bangladesh.
Yes,
Liberation War.
Yes. At that point of time, Indonesia was approached by Pakistan to support Pakistan in the war against India's war for Bangladesh. So Pakistan sought the support of Indonesia, both being Muslim-dominated countries. So they were wanting to safeguard Bangladesh.
And they wouldn't have to fly over the Indian subcontinent. They could have flown from Indonesia, the troops. That is also was one of the
That was
idea.
one of the ideas. I think this was clearly for deploying the Navy and give a deterrent in the Bay of Bengal. So if they deploy the Navy and give a deterrent, then it will cause problems in force deployment for India. So that time the Prime Minister asked Biju Babu to take up with the Prime Minister of Indonesia. This many people don't know. He spoke and he stopped Indonesia from getting into the war. And that was a big turning point at that point of time for the war. And that really helped India. These are things which nobody knows. In fact, he was responsible for setting up the Indo-Tibet Border Protection Force. He was tasked to find out how do we seal our borders, what should we do. So he gave the suggestion for setting up the Indo-Tibetan Border Security Force and take as many people from the locality, make them a force. They should be the first line of defense for India.
Quite amazing. Quite amazing about the contribution of Biju Babu in for the national security of this country.
Absolutely. In
Right.
fact, one more issue is that he was sent by Jawaharlal Nehru, the Prime Minister, to United States. I think that was the Chinese War. So he was
62.
62, yeah.
Yeah.
So he was asked to go and mobilize for
Public
support
opinion.
for also for arms support.
Okay.
He was sent. So he he didn't go on. He went and asked for arms as well as he asked for nuclear support. That time there was a furor in the parliament, Indian parliament. So he said that if China has nuclear weapons, if they are planning to attack India, what India will do. So if I go there, I don't go for guns. I have to ask something substantial, strategic for India. That is the kind of thought process he had for the
Yeah.
country.
Certainly not the pacifist that Nehru
Absolutely.
was.
He was completely committed for the country, and come what may, whatever is the superpower they are, we should show our power. That was the commitment with which he always functioned. We all know about the interim test range in Chandipur.
The range here.
Range,
Yes.
from where all our missiles are tested.
Yeah.
So there is an interesting story in that as well. So the DRDO identified 2-3 places in the country to set up the test firing range, interim test ranges to fire the missiles. The topmost place was in Balasore. They selected these Wheeler Islands. They thought that this cannot be identified, secure, and it won't hit the population even if some mistake happens. So all those safety hazards and everything put together, they selected this Wheeler Island. And the files were put up for the chief
That's in the Bay of Bengal.
Bay of Bengal, which is part of, it's coming in Odisha.
Yeah.
So when the files were put up for giving Wheeler Islands to DRDO, none of them supported. It was in the bureaucracy, everyone rejected it, saying that, see, it will again cause serious dislocation to the fishermen. They will keep on doing tests. There will be so much of restriction. So many people are dependent on fishing this place. And it will also cause unnecessary disturbance for us. So let's not give it. Already we have given a large portion of our coast for air defense. So again, one more stretch will be lost. So Mr. Abdul Kalam was the DRDO chief that time. So he came and met Biju Babu. The file had come to Biju Patnaik with every suggestion to reject it, why it should not be accepted. Generally, the chief minister goes with the suggestions given by, with so much of logic it is given. So he called
Given by the bureaucrats.
bureaucracy, yeah, the entire government setup.
Yeah, the chain of command.
Chain
that
of
is.
command, you say.
The joint secretary puts up the file and
Yes,
then it goes
additional
up.
secretary and everyone, and then field as well.
Yeah.
So when it came, so Mr. Kalam had shot an appointment. Biju Babu had called him for a discussion. So he asked him only one question, that I have seen Indo-China wars. I have an invitation to go to China now. Will you promise me that if we give the land, you will make an intercontinental ballistic missile from here, which will hit the heart of China? Will you promise me? You promise me, then I will allot the land. So this is the conversation these two great nationalists had. So Mr. Abdul Kalam promised that, sir, I will do it. We have plans, and maybe in 15 years or so, we should have the ICBM tested from Wheeler Island. And Biju Babu signed the file, giving the land to them, free of cost, saying that this is in nation security, it is very much important. He rejected all the objections and he gave. The concluding part was in 2000, I'm not sure which year was that, 10, 11 or whatever year. They fired the intercontinental ballistic missile, and they had given a special invitation to the chief minister, Mr. Naveen Patnaik. Your father had asked us that I'll give you this land, provided you have a ICBM from this place, and this is being tested, if you could come and witness it. He couldn't go because of reasons, but he wished them. So that's how this Wheeler Island happened. And when late Abdul Kalam passed away, Chief Minister named the Wheeler Island as APJ Abdul Kalam Islands. So you can see these three great nationalists in action: Naveen Patnaik, Biju Patnaik, and APJ Abdul Kalam.
Amazing.